It's wild to me how one of the biggest elements of our development is trust. And whenever trust is broken, we learn to control, right? And I think that's so interesting too, because when you look at how things unfold, right, depending on what happens in a person's life very early on, whatever traumatizes them, it usually has to do in the resulting of, broken trust. And the thing that's so interesting about that too is that when trust is broken, we learn to control because we need to feel safe, right? We're looking to achieve a sense of safety, and in order to achieve that sense of safety, when trust is broken, we feel like we need to control. And it's just so interesting because I'm realizing now that life doesn't get better when you control or when you try to control. It actually gets worse. You get more stressed. Life just doesn't end up the way that you want it to be, even though you're trying to, control everything. But it doesn't work that way. And it never has, and it never will. And the only way to really gain, a real sense of, genuine experience of life comes down to really just letting go of your need to control. Because when you are attached to an outcome, right, there is resistance there. When you are attached to something, it kind of says to the universe that you really don't have it because you're trying to control it. Because you wouldn't have to try to control it. You wouldn't even have to control it if it was yours. So that suggests that it is not equal to you. And that's very interesting to me because in my own experiences, not to get into the logistics of things because of boundaries and everything, but, I even learned, dynamics of control. And I'm reflecting on it now and I'm realizing that, well, I'm only doing that to try to achieve a sense of safety, but that in and of itself is an outdated defense mechanism that no longer, it no longer works. Real safety comes down to vulnerability. It comes down to, open communication and conversation, having really difficult conversations. That's how it works. And the extent to which we try to control things is also the extent to which we end up creating chaos in our lives. Chaos that we don't want, but we feel like we need to do that in order to, live a life. But that's just not the way that things work. You don't control things and expect life to be good because it's not going to be good when you're controlling it. When you let go and allow yourself to be present in the moment with what is, and just be there with it and have fun with it and not being attached to an outcome, right? Because that's where the control is. So when you take that back, it changes the dynamics of everything. It's very interesting. So yeah, control is not the way. Getting vulnerable, learning to trust yourself to make better decisions if you didn't previously, actually, on a daily basis showing up and making better decisions, which would then show yourself proof that you have that capacity to do so. That's what changes everything. But, control is not the way. It's not. It ends up stressing people out. It ends up just being a reflection of, everything from childhood. That's all that it is. That's all that it is. But once you see it for what it is, then you can make changes. And by the way, there are layers to letting go of this too, because there are probably belief systems that were learned early on in childhood that really kind of like layer upon layer upon layer added to everything, and it created this idea that this is how you have to go about life. That you can't be present, you can't be having fun, you have to be attached, you have to be trying to control everything around you, and that's just not the way that it is. It's not the way that it is. There are layers to letting go, but once you start to do that and realize that life becomes a dance when you do that because you're just being present to the moment, and then there's joy and peace and bliss, and that's how it unfolds.